My family said, "Food is for people who contribute." So I left my keys and a note on the table. She froze as she read it, and I walked away from my family forever, only to return years later rich and successful. I'm 27, when everything changed for me in a single evening that started out looking so ordinary. My mother insists on hosting a family dinner once every month, a tradition that she believes keeps everyone close. But for me, it was usually a night of walking on eggshells. I was living with my parents at the time because I had lost my job earlier that year. I was doing everything I could to get back on my feet, sending out applications every day, picking up small side gigs to help pay for groceries and utilities, and trying to keep my spirits up even when the rejections piled in. Still, I couldn't contribute as much financially as I used to, and that fact seemed to hang over me like a dark cloud whenever we sat together at that dinner table. The evening began smoothly enough. My sister arrived, my uncle was already there, and for a moment the house was filled with the sound of laughter and stories. Everyone was chatting, catching up, and passing around plates. I kept mostly quiet because lately, no matter what I said or did, my family always found a way to twist it into something critical. I didn't want to give them any more ammunition, so I just focused on keeping to myself. When dinner was finally served, I fixed a modest plate, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, a little bit of vegetables. Nothing over the top, nothing excessive. But I had barely taken 2 bites before my sister reached over, grabbed my plate right out of my hands, and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "You've eaten enough for someone like you." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I didn't even know what she meant by someone like me. But before I could gather my thoughts to respond, my father added cruelly, "Some people just don't know when to stop taking from others." My sister nodded in agreement and added her own dig. "Some family members just take more than they deserve." As if that wasn't enough, my mother, without even looking in my direction, said calmly, "Food is for people who actually contribute something to this household." Her words cut deeper than I expected. And then, as though he had been waiting for his chance to join in, my uncle piped up with a smirk and said, "Some people just don't earn their meals around here." I sat frozen, my fork still in my hand, my face burning hot, my chest heavy with the weight of their words. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stood up slowly, walked out of the dining room, and headed straight to my room. Inside, I took a bag and stuffed a few things into it. Then I pulled my house keys from my ring, walked back out to the dining room where they were still sitting, and placed the keys quietly on the empty table. Beside them, I left a short note. It said only one sentence: "You don't have to worry about me taking anything ever again." When my mother picked up that note and read it, she froze in place. I saw her face go still, her hand holding the paper like it suddenly weighed 8,000 pounds. She didn't call after me. She didn't stop me. She just stood there, silent, as I walked out of the house, closed the door behind me, and left everything I had known. That night, my friend Megan opened her door for me at 10 p.m. without asking questions. She handed me a blanket, made me tea, and gave me a place to breathe. My phone buzzed all night with messages from my family, some angry, some defensive, some trying to shame me for leaving. My sister even sent me a thumbs-up emoji, like it was all a joke. My parents told me I embarrassed them. My uncle mocked me. But my aunt, my dad's sister, texted me with a kindness that almost brought me to tears. "I don't know what happened, but you can stay with us if you need to." Over the next few days, I went back only once, with Megan at my side, to collect my belongings. My mother didn't say a word at first. She just crossed her arms and stepped aside. My room was exactly as I had left it, except that my dinner plate from that night sat on my desk, the cold food still on it. As I packed my things, she finally spoke. "If you would just admit you were wrong, none of this would have happened." I looked her in the eye and replied quietly, "If you really believe that, then you never knew me at all." And I walked out. At first, it was hard. I moved into a tiny studio apartment with peeling paint and noisy pipes. I worked a receptionist job at a small law firm just to get by. But that job brought stability, and slowly I began to rebuild my life. My aunt gifted me some kitchen supplies, Megan helped me furnish the apartment with thrifted finds, and for the first time in a long time, I felt what it was like to live without someone watching over me, waiting to tear me down. I cooked my own meals, ate at my own table, and no one could snatch my plate away or tell me I didn't deserve it. Months turned into years, and with time, my efforts paid off. I worked my way up, saved money, and eventually started my own small business. Success didn't happen overnight, but it came steadily because I refused to give up. The girl who once left her keys and a note on a family table was now signing contracts, buying property, and living independently. I was no longer the person they tried to break down. I became rich and successful on my own terms. Even when my family heard about my success through extended relatives, they never once offered a real apology. Instead, they sent little messages disguised as guilt trips. Family is all you've got, or we miss you at dinner. But none of that could undo the words they said that night or the coldness with which they let me walk out. The truth is, I didn't just walk away that evening. I stayed gone. And now, every time I sit down at my own table in my own home, I remember that moment when my mother froze as she read the note I left behind. That was the last time I needed their approval. Today, I am living proof that sometimes walking away is the only way to find your own strength, your own success, and your own peace. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have you ever faced something similar with family? I'd love to hear your thoughts.